Okay, there we go. Getting the little things fixed around. Had to flip that real quick. We're back now. We're going to be talking about things in the second hour here on the Megabyte podcast. Zombies.
Okay, so zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a controversial yet universal topic.
Everybody knows about them. Everybody
Yep.
talks about them. Everybody fears them. Everybody wants to be one in Halloween days. Except for
everybody wanting to be one. Because I know I never wanted to be a zombie.
brains. No,
none of that.
no.
No.
No brains. No?
I know a few people that have no brains, but we're not getting into that. So, zombie movies.
Okay, let's go for these. You know some of them. Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland 1 and 2. I think Day of the Dead is what I was thinking of earlier today, and my brain went, no brains. Okay. For me, I've never really have, and get ready to gasp, I have never really sat down and watched any of these zombie movies. I'm not a big zombie guy. Never have been. People ask me all the time. Okay, I can see by your looks, you're just giving. Spit it out, foo-foo. Well, okay, for my defense, when I played like games, like video games, Black Ops 2, any of the Black Ops series and stuff like that, had zombie stuff. A lot of people would ask me, why don't you do into zombie stuff? And I'm like, because it's boring as hell to me. I'm sorry. It's gory. It's just I don't know. It's just not for me. But go ahead and do tell. I want to hear this. I want to see like what are your thoughts about some of these zombie movies and stuff like that? Like your favorite film to start off with. What is that? What would you say?
I mean, it depends. Are you going comedy zombie or are you going
Is there a comedy
horror?
thing of zombies?
Zombieland was a comedy
What?
zombie movie. Yes, it was hilarious. The whole time it's got Jesse Eisenberg, I think it is, and Woody Harrelson.
Oh, okay. See.
And the whole movie, Woody Harrelson is looking for Twinkies.
Not a fan of him too much of his work, but he was good on Cheers.
Some of his movies are hit and miss. I will say that.
Like Kingpin or whatever it was, John Goodman.
I like that movie.
Cheesy. But go ahead, continue.
But like I said, it depends. Are you going comedy like Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead? Or are you going, horror? Like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
See, I've never if I had to watch something that would make me laugh, if it was zombie, of course, I don't know. I couldn't. To me, they all had the same premise. You either get bit by something or you're like get hit with lightning or something happens to you catastrophically. You're turned into this zombie. Now you're walking around, your arms flailing like your typical thriller scene from the late Michael Jackson. And you're hunting down people and stuff like that. And you're getting mowed down by the masses with people with infinite shotgun ammo. Or they cut you in half with big blades. Am I hitting a strike point yet? Or am I
wrong? That's for sure. I mean, but you have different types,
Mm-hmm.
You can, you got the big debate of should zombies walk or should they run? I mean, me personally, I think, if they're dead, but they can walk, I feel like they should be able to run too. They still have that muscle in their leg. They still have enough muscles to hold themselves up.
But
you would think they'd be able to run.
But doesn't that require brains to physically, that motor memory to run or to walk? See, that's the thing too. Now, see, if you want to get realistic, let's throw that butter in there. For like a person, you have to have brains to run or to walk or to even home in on something. Go ahead though. I'm just
Okay, well,
I'm being realism versus the
that
game, the thing itself.
that's a good point. And see, like in the series The Walking Dead, which I've watched all but season 10, and I love that show. I was actually watching it last night. There's an episode where they go to the CDC, and there's only one guy left at the CDC, and he's explaining to them, they were doing testing.
Mm-hmm.
They tested to where, you know, the brain dies, and it shows like the X-ray, and it shows the brain die, and it shows the brain stem come back to life.
Ugh. Okay.
And that's how they reanimate and come back, is through the brainstem. So technically, the brain is not dead
Okay.
in that world of
Mhm.
it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But again, I think, with the brain not being dead, they should be able to run.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, obviously, your motor. If you technically speak, a lot of the brain stem is where a lot of the nerves, a lot of this stuff is actually at.
Yeah.
Like all the main nerves and stuff are in your back of your spine, and they all run up and down the brain, the spinal cord, up into the brain stem itself. So that makes logic. I could see that. I could see that. But then, what do you feel though? What if a lot of these, as I've seen in past in movies, from just the flipping through the dial? Because I can't. I like I said, I've never watched one in from start to finish. Never front to back. Never watched.
Hmm.
It seems like it takes a lot of damn bullets to kill one, or at least mow down the masses. It's like if you don't hit him in the head, that's basically just like a haha. That's a equal, and that's it.
Pretty much. There's posters, there's stickers, there's bumper stickers, there's all sorts of things pertaining to when the zombie apocalypse does happen, if it happens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Rule number 1, aim for the head.
Right. Right.
You can't kill something that's already dead unless unless you shoot it through the head, because like I said, the brain's not fully dead.
Hmm.
You kill the brain, it's done.
Hmm.
Rule number 2, double tap. If you always want to make sure it's dead, so you always hit it a second time in the head.
It's kind of like how I did in Resident Evil. I did that
Pretty much, yeah.
last
You
week. Double tapped it
double
just to
tap.
make sure.
Uh-huh. And then like you got movies like World War Z where, they're running. Like they're fast. And I mean,
Hmm.
it seems like media is going more towards running than just walking zombies.
Now newer movies or newer segments or newer
Yeah.
series, I should say, a or TV series and stuff like that, or Netflix series are doing that, huh?
Mhm. And I mean, I tend to agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
If they can walk, they can run. I mean, you see a baby when it starts walking, what's the thing it does right after it starts walking? It starts running, and
Mm-hmm.
they run fast.
It's like
And
mm-hmm.
I mean, why would it be any different for a zombie who has died and their brain has come back? What about muscle memory?
I mean, I could see that, and we mentioned that last hour on the last segment about muscle memory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I could see that. That's a good card to throw against in my defense of not, that's a good defense card. That's good. And I never looked at that angle of it. For me, it's always been and as you mentioned about running and stuff. So they're adding more into
Mm.
than what I remember seeing is where they're just walking around and like your typical commercial for like a candy commercial for
Yeah.
Halloween where they're just running and just slowly dragging their leg, and stuff like
Yeah.
this.
See, zombies have come a long way. Like, they've come a long way from, just the slow and
Hmm.
steady. We're gonna get you eventually.
Hmm.
To you've got about 2 seconds to start running, or you're done.
Well, that's
Because
interesting.
we can run and jump and all that stuff.
See now, okay, again, now see, I've never seen stuff like that where their newer model of zombie is. I've always seen the old school version of it where they're dragging around and they're always getting mowed down by the masses. Like if you're in a truck or if you're in some kind of modified vehicle and you run them over, mow them all down like bowling pins to get to one safety house or a safety whatever it is. I mean, one thing that turns me off too is it gets too realistic with gore. I'm not a big gore guy, which is kind of weird from me doing paranormal stuff or stuff like this. I always say I deal with the after. I don't deal with the before
Yeah.
or as it occurs kind of a scenario. I always deal with the afterthought after they're done and passed and stuff.
I mean, I've always been really into like gory horror movies. Like I
Mhm.
love the Saw films. Those were
Oh
gory.
God, no, 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 no. That
I
that
was I
freaked me the hell out. The time I saw that, where they had the lady, I think it was, well, I think it was the very first one where he had to cut off his own leg or his own
uh-huh.
ankle or
Yep.
something, and then the lady had to stick her arm or hand into this machine, and it would cut off. Oh my God, dude, that
When she reached in to get the syringe and she tried to pull back out and it was just like slicing her arm up. Yeah.
uh
That was that was the first one.
see, I can't do shit like that. That to me, it freaks me out. I don't know. I've just never been a blood gore kind of guy. I
I've never had a problem with it. I mean, when I was really little I did, but growing up I was just never had a problem with it. So, when it came to like zombie movies and TV shows, I had no problem watching them.
There was a movie. I think it was called like The Neighborhood at the End of the Street or something like that, or Dead End, and there was like two of them. But you may know, I might be totally off on the name, but bear with me. I'll tell you the opening sequence immediately freaked me the hell out. I couldn't watch any of the rest of it. And this is only like the opening scene where there's a person or kind of a creature or whatever it was. It was coming after this person, I think, and the guy literally took an axe and completely chopped it right down the middle, and it just splits open like a banana peel and spreads out like this, and you could see all this intestines, all this shit just flying everywhere. It was so graphic and so realistic. I couldn't watch it. It freaked me the
See,
hell
I
out.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I have an issue with like I'll know what something is,
Mm-hmm.
but then my brain goes and I cannot think of the name.
I don't I think it was something like, because I remember I was at a family member's house watching this, and I literally had to get up, and at the time I smoked cigarettes. I literally went outside. I must have smoked like 3 cigarettes. I did not want to go back in to watch this shit. This scared me. It freaked me out. It was literally, that was the opening scene. They were like walking in the street. The person was saying something or something like that, and this axe or something just came chopping right down. I mean, right down the middle of the person, and they're like this, and then they just like rip right open, and they just fall, and all this gore just pops out like intestines and blood and chunks. Oh, I couldn't handle it, dude. I
I'll
don't.
have to look up the name because I'm pretty sure I know what movie you're talking about. I can't
I
think
want
of
to
the name
say
of it.
it's like The End of the Street. There was two. There was
Hmm.
two of those. Two
See, when you say the end of the street, all I think of
house.
is Last House on the Left.
I think it was the house at the end of the street. It was from 2000 and something. 2012. I think it was what it was. I could be wrong.
I
But
don't know.
there was two. I just remember that very vividly. It scared the hell out of me. Now I remember stuff like horror shows like Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that. I could kind of watch that. It's not really a movie, but
Yeah.
it fits in that same realm though of scary
Mhm.
kind of like, because they had all these different twists and And well, I don't know what the hell the Tales from the Crypt dude was. Obviously, he's a crypt of something, but I would have to look at his backstory. But I mean, like, everybody knows the Day of the Dead. Everybody knows that. Welcome to
Yeah.
Waverly or whatever it says. And I've never watched it because to me, again, it was just like repetitively the same thing over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But so, I mean, like, start me off with your typical, without really mentioning names of movies. Give me an example of, from start to finish, a brief introduction. How does it start? How does it, like, the climax, or the beginning, the middle, and the climax? It's like, what
I
is your
mean,
typical
like,
movie, average zombie movie? Does it start off with, like, there's hordes, they come in, they shoot them, they go in the
I mean,
middle?
to start off, no. To start off, it's just like everything's fine, and then something happens. And
Okay.
then, you know, as it starts getting into the movie or whatnot, you start seeing more and more like mass panic,
Okay.
and you get the military vehicles going through smaller towns,
Okay.
and then you get like these announcements on the radio, and then everything goes dead, like the radio and stuff, and then you go outside and you look around and there's people in the streets, but they don't look like normal people. They're either walking
Hmm.
or they're running around and attacking people.
Now, is it your typical cookie cut kind of movies or series?
I mean,
Because,
most of the time, yes. That's most of the time, that's how it works. It'll start out, everything is fine,
mhm,
and then something tragic happens. Like, okay, I know you said without mentioning anything, but
uh-huh,
I'm gonna go back to The Walking Dead.
okay.
It starts out, everything's fine. The main character and his friend, they're cops, and they're trying they're doing what cops do. And the main
Right.
character gets injured. He
Okay.
gets shot, and he ends up in the hospital in a coma.
Okay.
While he's in a coma, the world goes to shit. And he wakes up, the hospital is like dead quiet. No one around. He's walking through the halls. He's been in a coma for months, and he's walking around trying to find nurses, trying to find somebody.
Right.
He doesn't find anybody. He finds this door, and it says "Don't open, dead inside," and it's all chained up. And he goes up to it, and he starts hearing like the moans and stuff. He goes outside. The parking lot of the hospital is filled with dead bodies in body bags. There's a helicopter. He finds a bike. He's trying to get back to his house. He sees this walker, is what they call it in the show,
Mhm.
where it's just the top half of the person crawling on the ground. He gets back to his house, or he gets somewhere, and he starts bleeding, and there's two other survivors. This is just the first episode.
Jeez.
The the other two um survivors is a father and a son, and the son smacks the main character in the face with a shovel because he sees the blood. He thinks he's been bit. They bring him inside. He wakes up, and they explain to him what's going on. By the end of the episode, it seems like he's fully recouped. He went to his house, saw that his wife and son had packed stuff up and left, and now he's off to go find them. That's just the pilot episode.
Now, you say this is an episode, so this is a series, a running series.
Hmm. This series started in 2010.
So let me ask you this. So, if do you feel that you have your typical zombies from the 70s or 80s, whatever, like the Night of the Living Dead or whatever it was when it first started out. Do you think Hollywood now has said, okay, look, I can make more doing these kind of films in a series than, say, if I were to take 6 months of filming at a location? I have to do talent scouts, I have location scouts, I have to go to a place, look for this stuff, start doing B-roll films, start doing the segues, start doing all this stuff up.
Excuse me.
Do you think it's better for them now? Do you think Hollywood just said, okay, instead of just making movies, now we can make just more with this series and just continue with it, and that they can continue the story within series? Or is the series just broken up a movie, but it's just broken up into weekly or
I mean,
episodes?
I get what you're saying, and I mean, yeah, I think, as a television series,
Mm-hmm.
you have obviously there's going to be more money to spend, but I
Right.
also think there's going to be more money to be made because that first episode
Mm-hmm.
can either make or break a show. It can either really suck someone in and make them want to see what happens next, and then you can make it as long as you want. With a movie, the way I look at it, if it doesn't suck me in the first 10, 15 minutes,
Right.
then I'm just going to turn it off because you have to have that where, like, at the beginning, you have to have such a good, like, introduction to it
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
it makes people want to stay.
So do you think a lot of these are too predictable? Like, what you just told me was exactly what I had in my head. Like, okay, it's gonna start like this, everything's all cool and dappy, and then all of a sudden something horrific has happened and it gets announced. So it's like the world of the ending of the world scenario. So you have all these like major catastrophe things happening. I mean, do you think that's really too predictable? Like, okay, this series is going to be like just this series, it's going to be the same?
I mean, yes, I do think they can make it different. I mean,
How would you make it different?
oh god, of course you asked me this. Um, I really don't know because I haven't really thought about it. If you
Well,
give me another week to think about it, I could probably have a whole fucking pilot episode for a new show.
stay tuned for that one, folks. But what I mean, as an example, just a short term thought: would you make them the zombies smarter, or would you make them more dumber? If you
I'd
had
probably make them a little bit smarter
Okay, so that would give it a
because
little bit
with
more of a twist.
with how quickly it happens with them dying and then reanimating,
Hmm.
I think that there would be a little bit more, like, they haven't been dead long,
Right,
obviously.
right.
It'd be different if they were dead for like 5 years
Hmm.
and then came back, then their brain would be mush.
So why?
But they're only dying and being dead for like 2 hours, if that. I think the longest in like the Walking Dead series was like 7 hours. That's not enough time for you to become like completely mush.
Well, what if you did do that? What if you added that variable into the equation? What if you said, okay, well, this zombies, instead of basing it on a 2 hour block of time, why not make it to where it has a backstory of these zombies that have been forgotten? In other
Mm,
words, they're like the old school zombies where they've been around for like 5 years and they have adapted to change. So they've learned, even though they don't have brain, but they have
mhm.
learned how to do this or how to manipulate things more, so like open doors better or pick locks or do something that the other ones who are brain dead just for the shorter amount of time. See, that'd be a good little movie twist or
See,
a series twist.
That what you just said kind of makes me think of the movie Warm Bodies. It's another zombie movie. It's not a horror zombie movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a comedy, but also, not. But
Comedic.
it shows the viewpoint of one of the zombies, and
Okay.
he has thoughts in his head.
So he's
Like
able to rationalizely think, or has some
he
degree of
he,
thinking.
he can think to himself. He can't talk,
Hmm.
but throughout the movie, he starts, you know, almost becoming human again, which I think was a great twist.
That's
Like
interesting.
like he meets a girl, he actually starts to fall in love with her. They spend time together. Like he's becoming more and more human throughout the movie,
S-
and he's learning. So I think that was a great twist, and that's why when you said that the first thing that popped in my head was, they've done that to a very small degree.
Well, let's expand it. Let's you and I co-direct a movie. We'll hire some celebrities, maybe some B-roll or B stars. Now we,
Yeah.
we can't afford the A-listers yet,
Yeah, no.
but
Can't afford Johnny Depp yet.
shit, it'd be great. I'd love to have him as a star. But let's do that. I can do lighting. We can do all that fun stuff. We'll do a green screening because I think we know how
Yep.
to do that. Let's do something like that. I'll work behind the camera. I'll do angles and stuff like this. You can write down various points. You could be the director. You could take lead of directing. I'll just be the assistant director, and we'll just make a shitload of money. And yeah, that'll be it. We could definitely work that out because I could see things. I could write
Yeah.
stuff.
And you can
Just
also do the music, so that takes a big chunk of
hey,
money out right there.
I exactly. And if I can't write it, I can get a couple people that will help, and I can take the lead on that. Lead
Mhm.
director of music, where I could sit there and say, no, don't like it. Change that. That should be an F and D
Yeah,
flat.
exactly.
I see. I like that. I think we could really do that. We could hire
Look at
Panic
us
and
coming up with
some other.
more ideas.
I think we could do that. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to. My state, we used to have film production here, but for some odd reason, the governor here decides to cut out the multi millions of dollars that we were getting into the state. But for some reason, my governor decides to say, no, this is not a good idea. We're just going to take out production of movies here because we filmed Transformers. We filmed all kinds of movies here. But I guess, 2 governors ago, or yeah, because they're 4-year stints,
Mhm.
decided it was something not investable. So they said, okay, Hollywood, get out of here, go back to Hollywood, which I think is dumb.
Yeah,
But
that sounds dumb to me. I mean,
I mean, you have all this money that can come in. You have all these new eyes that come in. They hire
you can
extras.
take the filming location
Hmm.
and turn it into a tourist attraction
You
for one.
literally could.
Because if it's a huge movie like Transformers,
Hmm.
I mean, people would pay to go see that area.
Just look at all those backcasts or all those outlots over there in California, also known as Universal Studios, where they have all the streets and stuff like that, where the
Mhm.
films were all produced. You have Jim Carrey, you got the Grinch. They got some of the scenes were filmed back then, and they have all that stuff. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it could have been monumental because money was pouring into the state, which is what we desperately need.
Yeah.
We need road infrastructure, but that's a whole different topic. But
Yeah.
it did my
That's
point.
taxpayers' money,
The
not.
po- exactly the point is when you make a film versus a series, you don't really, when it comes to filming and stuff too, it's the same premise.
Yeah.
Directors, multi producers, executive producers actually have more power so than a lot of the directors. Executive producers are the ones that say, hey, look, I'll give you $30 million to invest into this and stuff like this. So they're ponying up their own, or ponying their own money
Mhm.
up front to cover costs, which is interesting. So when you see something that says executive producer Joe Schmo,
Yeah.
they have put in a lot of money into the production. But I wouldn't mind doing something like that where we could work on a or at least see that in Hollywood where it goes back further than just, you said an X amount of hours or a day or
Mhm.
two or whatever it is. But what about, they've learned things. They've learned to adapt things and to manipulate and to maybe fight back.
Yeah.
What if you
See,
had?
like, if you think about it, like I said, The Walking Dead started in like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
That's 11 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And each season could be a year to 2 years.
Okay.
So, that's 11 years.
How many episodes is that? How many episodes? Give
Um,
or take in a season, usual. A normal.
normally like 16 episodes,
So you figure they're probably
I
filming
think.
6-7 months out of the year.
Oh yeah, they're constantly filming.
So it's a steady
Yeah,
income or steady
it's
flow, basically.
mhm.
So you would think, well, okay, the head of writers, why aren't they thinking of stuff like this? Why aren't they saying, okay, let's think out of the box a little bit further? And I don't know about backstories because there'd be so much with zombies, and the
Mhm.
more or less it's based on the main fighters of these things and stuff like that. The main cast,
The survivors.
the survivors, if you will. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's no real backstory. I mean, what if they were obviously they were human? What if they had jobs like 9 to 5?
Mhm.
But you don't know that because you don't know what happened to them. But I think that'd be an interesting scenario. I don't know. It'd be kind of.
I think that would be a great scenario. Just like make it to where, it's not just like they're walking around aimlessly
Mm-hmm,
for the
mm-hmm.
rest of their, well, undead lives.
One more time. Brains. Sorry.
Yeah, like it I feel like it could go so much further
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and
maybe I
so
would get
much can be
interested.
done
Mm-hmm.
with it that they need to like put on their thinking caps and start, how can we change these movies and TV shows so it's not all the same? So it's not just a horde of zombies is coming and we have to shoot them down or use knives on them or
Yeah, which is totally predictable. Like, okay,
exactly.
and they always seem like they have an infinite amount of bullets to a degree, or they're at the very last few bullets and they don't know what to do, and they always
Yep.
somehow like MacGyver it, where they've suddenly miraculously. I threw MacGyver in there. I don't know if you know anything about MacGyver, but
Yep. I know what MacGyvering is.
if they did, they develop something or make something out of basic materials, and then they're able to win-win situation with them. I remember some of the movies like I've seen, and this is a good thought too, like going through, like you would only see their arms go through windows or they'd fall from the ceiling and they'd come
Mhm.
at you. Do they do that now? Obviously probably not. They probably, as you're saying, they're more mobile now. They're more walking and some are running and stuff like
Mhm.
this.
I
I,
mean, at some points in times in different movies and shows,
mm-hmm,
yeah, they've got the classic breaking the window and sticking their arms through and
right.
sticking their heads through and falling through the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been done. Come on.
They always seem
Step
like they're
step
immortal
up to the
too.
table and give us some new ideas.
I mean, what could you possibly do to switch it out? I mean, like I've said, they seem immortal to a point where you have to shoot them in the head to basically get rid of them or decapitate them to finally put them to an end. But if you cut off the arm or whatever, like with an axe, you notice it's like starts to move and grabs the person's ankle and drags him down, and then it's like it's very predictable. Like that's what I feel anyways. And I guess a lot of people could say the same about a horror or action movies where you have the hero comes in, saves the girl at the end of the day, explosions everywhere, there's a bad guy, kills off the bad guy, some explosions again, and there's the
Mhm.
credit roll right there. That's
I
it.
mean, I mean, it seems like nowadays a lot of things are predictable. Movies, TV
Yeah.
shows, a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
them. Doesn't matter the genre. But,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate to keep going back to The Walking Dead, but it's one of my favorite zombie series. There there's an episode in season 2 where one of the survivors gets, separated from the group,
Mm-hmm.
and she's out there in the wild all by herself. She's out of bullets, she's got a knife. She's ready to just give up and die. And this one chick comes out of nowhere. She's got a sword rather than a gun. One that's smart because it's quiet. But she has two of the zombies on chains. She's got the bottom jaw cut off so it can't bite her.
Oh Jesus.
And it's got both their arms cut off. And that the thing with The Walking Dead is if you cover yourself in like the scent of a zombie, they won't attack you, which is
Okay.
smart,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's nasty the way they have to do it. I think the way she did it was super smart. She's got the two zombies, no arms so they can't grab her or scratch her, no bottom jaw so they can't bite her. So they're just walking around, just looking around, and it covers her scent,
Oh,
which is
okay.
smart.
Gotcha. See, I meant okay. Gotcha. See, that would be something I would do if I were stuck in that scenario. My choice of weaponry would be like a katana or something like a sword, like a Japanese sword, samurai sword, because number one, it's gonna slice right through you like butter. I
Yep.
mean, instant. Like it can be surgically done, just like how you said their arms are gone and the jaws are removed.
The bottom
So
jaw is
yeah, so either like a nice serrated blade could get but
gone.
if I had a choice, like if I'm running in and I would seriously because bullets are gonna eventually run out.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go, if, like, say, if something like that catastrophically happened here right now, number one, there are no gun dealerships anywhere around me, no gun dealers. I don't even know where to begin to get a gun. I wouldn't even know where to begin to get bullets. I think I know of a place that gets bullets, but again, they don't sell the guns themselves. So it's like having a gas can with no gasoline in it. Like, well, you're screwed either one way or the other. So for me, I would go for the old predictable yet old fashioned style. Would be a nice like samurai sword or katana sword,
Mhm.
which could be more available, or at least you could find a sword, or I should say you could find a knife or something sharp, at least something sharp in your general store, like
Yeah.
a department store or a warehouse store,
I mean,
which are more
even
common.
even if you don't have like a gun store, if you go to like down here, there's a lot of Bass Pro Shops because we live around a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go in there and you can get like bows and
Oh yeah.
crossbows.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of the main characters in The Walking Dead. His weapon of choice is a crossbow,
Gotcha.
and I'm pretty sure out of the 147 episodes of The Walking Dead,
Uh
he has had that crossbow through nearly all of them, if not all of them.
hmm.
And I mean, even that, you're at a distance. If you see, there's a horde coming, everyone has bows and crossbows. Stand
Right.
up on a hill, mow them down. You can go and collect your ammo, so you don't have to, have bullets, or you don't have to worry about your knife breaking in a sticky situation.
See, that would be the only flaw that I would think of, or it being dull or get dull after a while, because that happens.
Yeah, the arrow tips would get dull. The knives would get dull.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I meant
you
like
can
with a
you can
sword.
take you can take a stone and sharpen it.
That's true. They do have sharpening stones. So I would if okay. So here we go, buddy. Here's my survival. If I were locked in that scenario right now, I would immediately grab the sharpest knives I have
Yep.
in my kitchen, which
Biggest and the sharpest.
I do have some mean ones. I do have some good ones. I don't have any chef knives, but I have some really good ones. I would take those bad boys. I would find the nearest store or that I could think of that would have kitchen stuff, like knives, forks, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'd look around or as fast as I could, go through there, loot it if I had to. If not, I would leave the money on the cash register. And I would then get either a sharpening stone or as many blades as I could put in my pocket or at least carry. Then
You don't even need a sharpening stone. Go to any store where you can get kitchen stuff. My dad, when I was younger, he used to have this thing that looked like a stick.
Uh-huh.
And it was made of metal, and he used to use that to sharpen his blades.
See, where I live
Plus, it
is
could double as a weapon itself.
as a stabby kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But see, for me right now, if I were to walk outside the cardboard box, I would be limited to a couple places, or at least one place I know where they would have kitchen items immediately. If I had the world was falling apart and there's zombies that were wanting to eat my brains, sorry, I would have to go there. But for, as you mentioned earlier about a Bass Pro Shop and stuff, the closest one to me is about 25 miles away. So I would be shit out of luck at that point. So I would have to go to plan B, which it would be to immediately find things that are within my proximity of walking. If I didn't run it, because eventually your gas is going to run out too. So you got to think about stuff like that. What containers can hold gas? Not very many containers can, because gasoline eats through styrofoam. So I can't put a styrofoam cooler and fill that up with it. Just tried that experiment at home with nail polish remover. I guarantee it. That styrofoam
will disintegrate.
It turns into gel like slime. It's really cool, but no, it won't work. So you got to think of all those scenarios and stuff. But what would be for you? Like if you were running right now, what would be the first things you would do in a scenario like that? Like the world just all of a sudden around you, your neighbors turn into zombies, which I think half of my freaking neighbors are zombies to begin with.
Half of my county would be. Immediately. I'd be screwed. But if it was me, obviously, I have my kitchen knives, which I have a really nice knife block set, and it's got a Michael Myers knife in there. That's the first one I'm grabbing.
Jesus. that's
and
good.
Then, well, we've got within walking distance. We don't have much. I mean, it'd take me about an hour, but I could walk from my place to our Walmart.
Okay.
Our Walmart doesn't have much. It's really tiny.
Okay.
But, they've got the outdoor section. They've got knives there. They've got guns there. They've got bows, crossbows, stuff like that. I obviously, me personally, I've always been a fan of like bows. So I'd probably get one of those. Although I know how to shoot guns. I've shot them before. I'm just not a huge fan of them.
I'd prefer, honestly, I think I would prefer bow and arrow, because at least you have the bowstring, which has a higher, it's tougher to do.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what, though, if I had to, instead of loading up my gun, I'm like sitting here struggling now, like, oh, I got to put 6 in the chamber. I could immediately raise this back and at least get and aim where the body part I'm going to shoot at. Or if I have a crossbow, it takes longer for it to, to snap into place. But man, you're talking. I feel that would be faster. Yeah, a gun can the velocity of a bullet traveling damn near the
It's
speed of
a
sound.
lot better than a bow, but if you're in one of those tough spots where you're gonna get bit if you load a gun
Mm-hmm.
compared to just pulling off your back and pulling the string, I'd rather just pull the string.
I guess you could
It's a
literally.
lot faster.
I guess you could literally just bop him in the back of the head or the butt of the gun as you're trying to reload the thing, But here's okay. So
But then you run the risk if you're using a revolver, you're loading it and then you lift it up, all the bullets fall out, and then you got to start over.
and then here's I just brainstormed, Bunny. Not only do you have to worry about all that you just mentioned, which you do, but here's the thing too. Now you have to worry about weather, the environment. Because if you get a gun wet and if you get bullets wet, the gun usually won't fire. It gets jammed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not talking gunpowder days like Civil War days, but
Yeah, we're not talking about,
but it
your
does happen.
blunderbusses.
Exactly. But you got to remember though, it does happen with bullets and stuff like that. They're not really waterproof. The guns, it gets the chamber gets wet. You're kind of SOL because it needs that fire. It needs that power, that spark. And if you lose the spark, it's just like an engine. It'll just fail. It won't work. But here's my scenario too. Since I live where I live, if I was in a apocalyptic scenario, just like we mentioned, I'd grab all the knives and all the stuff that I could. But see, I don't know if you have the advantage or not. You've mentioned before briefly about water around you. But see, I have major water lakes around me. So if I could, I would directly get to one of those lakes as fast as I could, grab a boat. I think I'd be pretty safe if I'm sitting out in the middle of the water somewhere for a while. The only problem is I would have to figure out, like, I would have to run back onto mainland, to grab supplies, food, etc., etc. But just for a short time, like if I had to run away from, Joe Schmo City to get to Apple City, I could probably make it a lot safer if I were on a boat. So that's what I would do. That would be my smart thinking. I have the luxury of having these humongous lakes around me where I can actually travel and get a boat, and at least stay within 50 yards away from the edge. I think 50 or 150 feet would be safe, or even less.
That's a great point. And I'm going back to The Walking Dead. They did a spinoff. They did a spinoff called Fear the Walking Dead. And that series was in California. All that ocean there. Right. They actually tried to do that. And, one, zombies might not swim, but they ain't got to breathe.
Ooh.
Two, there could be other people on boats that want to steal your shit.
Like pirates, like hoarders and stuff like that. Yes. Okay.
And then you're screwed. If, they come on your ship and they start taking your stuff, you could be screwed.
So I guess the easiest way for me to calculate that synopsis, to add that mechanic into it, that variable, would be I would have to either keep moving or at least find, get out deep enough in the water, because I know the water drops dramatically once you get from shore. At least it does here, because the depths of the water where I live are thousands of feet deep. So it's pretty, if you fall in there and if you have a concrete on your ankle, you're pretty much SOL. So you're falling to the bottom of the water. But in that scenario, I guess I would look for, God, man, I would do my damnedest to survive and to check and make sure people are not trying to screw me over. And as you mentioned about pirates, they could be just like me. Maybe they're surviving like I am, but they want my stuff. They could kill you, throw you to these
So that
zombies.
way they have a longer rate of survival.
Right. And
I mean, but then you also got to think about it. What about the places where, like, they don't have stuff like that? Like,
right.
middle of the country,
If you're
no
out,
water nearby, they
mm,
don't have, like, Bass Pro Shops and places that sell all this kind of stuff where, you know, you
m-
can
m-
get things to make your survival a little bit better.
if I was out in the middle of, say, Kansas, okay, we're talking the middle of the country, out in the middle
Yeah.
of no freaking where. I mean, that place is flat as the walls around you. Okay, I've never been there, but from what I've been told, people who have visited Kansas, that's how it
Mhm.
is. And you've
Yeah.
seen videos of it. So, in particular, as an example there, first thing I would do if I was in that scenario is I would look for the closest farms around me. Because you got to figure farms, they have some blades and stuff like that. You have like your lawnmowers or even your tractors, they have some kind of blades in front of it or blades on the sides. So I would do is if I had a tractor, like a lawnmower, I'd flip that baby over. If time allowed, I would then remove the blade, the lawnmower blade itself,
Mhm.
somehow construct that son of a gun to either have a handle on one end of it, and then I would have and then I would have like pitchforks or stuff like this. And then I would try to either move underground or find like
Mhm.
a cave system or something, or above. I would try to go for the hills, at least where I could have visual around me more. Now, I'm not a big fan of mountains and stuff, but I think I would make an exception of something
Oh,
like
yeah.
this.
I
And
mean, it's
then,
not like you need service out there
yeah, I mean, we get
when
into
the end
talk.
of the road comes.
Yeah, you can't call for
You don't need
emergencies.
internet.
Then like a zombie like text you back or something. That'd be kind of interesting. Throw that one in the future. The
I mean, another thing, like, they there's bunkers everywhere.
mm-hmm.
I mean, if you could find one to live in,
But do you?
would you?
But okay, if I could, I'm sure.
Like a self-sustaining one
Right.
where you grow all your food, you have everything you need.
If I had a choice, yes, I would do that. If I lived out in Kansas or something like that, the closest bunkers I think would be tornado shelters, which I could turn into a bunker. But I tell you what though, buddy, I would not want to stay in Kansas. I would
Yeah.
be, there's no place like home. But I mean, I would literally go further west up into. You have Colorado, which bumps into Kansas and all that stuff. I would then go to that direction. At least then I would have. I mean, you got winter, you got snow and stuff, so they might deter maybe a little bit of the zombies. Like it would slow them down. I would hope it would kind of put them freeze in their tracks more or slow them down somehow,
I
somewhere.
mean, considering the fact that they don't have like a blood flow
See,
to keep them warm,
right? Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure they would freeze in the winter.
I would definitely do my damnedest to if I lived out in the middle of nowhere like that. I would definitely want to get out of that because you're in danger zone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically like the dance floor. It's like they're all going to surround you eventually. So
Yeah.
I would look at in my scenario, I would definitely look for a more mountainous state or continue going west to where it gets to the point where it gets more barren, like
Yeah.
say the deserts or not even the desert, but like say like Nevada, Arizona,
Mhm.
New Mexico. It's mountainy, but it's at the same time there's
It's a lot of
miles.
open land.
Right. There's so much in between that you would be able to see around you, but also it would it would take them forever to get to you, and you would have that time then to build up your stocks, build up your materials, build up all this stuff. Hopefully, then you would be able to say, okay, well, look, I'm going to be able to fight these sons of guns, etc., etc. Yeah, we'll see. That's what I would do, anyways.
I mean, when it comes to like the films and stuff, yeah, it depends on what you think is practical.
Right.
I mean, I'm hoping to see some more, more practical stuff
I
in the future.
I hope.
And I mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, it might make me excited about seeing movies like that, but I don't know. Who knows in the future? Maybe I will see a zombie flick. Maybe I'll see a series. People around me don't watch them, so we'll figure that out. We're getting towards the top of the hour here. In the next hour, the last hour of the Megabyte podcast, we're going to be talking about something that's kind of interesting: the death of discs. I'm excited about that. That's a good topic. So we'll see you guys in a little bit. After the break, we'll get into it, myself and Ms. Bunny Foo Foo, live right here on the Megabyte podcast.